Hello, how you doing? We are doing another CinemaWins reaction video. This time we're doing Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So movie number 3. I always get that wrong the way I position that. Anyway, yep. A lot of people will deem this as the best movie in the series. I will say this is actually my second favorite movie. I'll tell you what my favorite one is later on when we get to it. But yeah, it is definitely really good. It's got really cool visuals. Definitely takes the series in a darker tone compared to the previous two. It's cool seeing Harry, get mature more, and it's got Sirius Black and Lupin, some of my favorite characters in the series. Oh, and the time travel thing is pretty cool, even if it's weird. They don't really use that ever again. I know, they destroy the time turners in the fifth book, but come on, that's just it just I don't know. Well, let's not get into that. Anyway, here's CinemaOne's video on that and my reaction to it. Play. Ba 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 ba.
I'd call this a Harry Potter style WB logo, or maybe more accurately a Prisoner of Azkaban style logo.
Yes,
Oh, I'm glad he didn't add a win for that bit with Harry using Lumos. That's definitely one of the few problems. Like, why is Harry using Lumos? Even though there's a rule about wizards not being able to use magic outside of school when they're underage, that's a plot point in this movie too. Since Harry accidentally blows up Aunt Marge, I can't believe they left that in. Yeah. Okay, Aunt Marge. Oof. What B word.
grateful way.
Nothing like an evil aunt to make you forget how terrible the Dursleys are.
Uh-huh.
She's rude, condescending, possibly guilty of animal cruelty, and I can't complain that she's set up for some retribution.
Bit more. That's a boy. And a drunk too, no doubt.
Hey, but at least she's not a hypocrite.
Quiet, Vernon, you. Clean it up.
Oh, the way
I
she
can appreciate that this
snaps.
treatment is meant to be hyperbolic. Most people aren't quite this rude to service industry employees, let alone family. However, I'd just like to go on record saying that if you are the type of person to snap your fingers at a waiter, it might be time for a little healthy introspection. And by that I mean stop it.
Right.
Stop doing that.
Yeah.
There's
Don't do
something
that.
wrong with them. Then there's something wrong with the pup. Shut up!
Shut up!
Two things here. First, it feels so good to the soul to see Harry stand up for himself.
Uh-huh.
And second, I never noticed the dog whining in the background. A nice little
that's
touch,
cool.
since animals often have intuition that humans don't. And Harry is actually a pretty powerful and scary dude.
I said that's cool with the dog whining. I suddenly felt a little sadistic saying that. I'm not. I love dogs, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
A little comeuppance for Marge and a little for Dudley Do-Wrong.
Yeah. She's totally dead. She's totally dead.
To the night bus.
Night bus? Because it's like a knight coming to your rescue? Well played, Rowling.
Ah, nice.
Gary Oldman is always a win, even in print.
He is.
Reckon you've heard of him?
Yeah. Him I've heard of.
Now, I've only killed him a handful of times, though. This little bus ride is a moment of lighthearted respite before the darkness starts creeping in, and yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
sure.
Ah, that's an ad for the candy
That's an ad for the pepper imps that make steamed coffee out of Harry's ears later. Oh, that's cool.
that makes steam come out of Harry's ears later. Even at the highest levels of bureaucratic bureaucracy, they enjoy a quick alliteration.
What was with Tom the Innkeeper being a hunchback in this one, even though he wasn't in the first one? I don't know what that was about.
Housekeeping.
You shouldn't yell at housekeeping either, or roar. Alfonso Cuarón has a few of these long takes in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
This one is definitely my favorite and the most meaningful. The way the serious poster is framed while they speak about him, the separation between Harry and his friends, even the blocking is super impressive and adds to the flow of this scene as they move closer to the camera.
No, seriously. I've talked about in another video, filmmaking is hard. This scene in particular, whenever I watch, I always have to think, how do they do that? Because there's so much staging they have to do to get this all in one continuous camera shot. And it goes on for I don't remember how long it was, but 2-3 minutes. It goes on for a while, and it's holy crap. I'm not even that big into knowing how to make movies. I mean, I make videos, but they're not as complicated as stuff like this, where you have to tell actors, okay, you have to do this, you have to do this, we have to get this all in one take, and if you screw this up, we're gonna have to do this take all over again. It's man, I don't envy being a filmmaker.
Its friends, even the blocking. Another name win. The Latin root of
Oh,
lupus seen as
Lupin.
they move closer to the camera.
Professor R.J. Lupin.
Another name win. The Latin root of lupin is lupus, meaning wolf. And Remus is also one of the brothers responsible for founding Rome who nursed off of a wolf.
Huh.
There are no secrets in this story if you're paying attention. And no Latin. And Roman mythology.
Sure.
Except no one's ever broken out of Azkaban before, and he's a murderous, raving lunatic.
Thanks, Ron.
Politeness. Magical beings that make the Grim
Oh,
Reaper look harmless.
there's the Dementors.
Yeah, that's a horrifying creature.
Yeah. Expecto Patronum!
Saving a kid.
I felt weird, though. Like I'd never be cheerful again.
And if that isn't ever the tone of this entire film, except for that frog, he's having a blast.
And yeah, there's the new Dumbledore, Michael Gambon. I like him. Yeah, I like both Dumbledores equally, actually, even if Gambon has a couple of moments where I'm like, but yeah, he's pretty cool.
Kindly consented to fill the post of Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher.
So definitely don't trust him, because everyone knows that position is only filled by liars and or people trying to kill Harry Potter.
Lupin's the best defense against the dark arts teacher, period.
You actually fainted.
Those in glass houses, or those with weak constitutions. I don't know, Malfoy's a baby. I know it can't be, but that looks a lot like Voldemort striking a Michael Jackson pose.
Ah, cool.
Background details in these films are some of my favorite parts. Like this knight trotting through other paintings and then responding to the fat lady's scream.
That's cool.
Theatricality. Of all the things missing from the books, these candies are actually a fun addition that weren't in the books. We don't get too much boys being boys, so it's a nice touch.
Oh, honestly,
Yeah.
Ron. If you ask me, divination's a very woolly discipline.
Gotta love that even in a world with actual, real magic, the ever-analytical and scientific Hermione sees divination as suspect. No offense to any tea leaf readers in my audience.
You have to be in 2 classes at once.
Don't be silly, Ronald. How could anyone be in 2 classes at once?
The first of many time travel.
Wink, wink.
Shut up, Malfoy.
Harry has always stood up to Malfoy, but after seeing him blow up his aunt, it actually carries a little more weight. One thing you'll notice in this film is the students' uniforms are less formal and ready for inspection than in the past. And that was a direct direction from Cuarón. He wanted the actors to feel more comfortable and wear the clothing the way they would in real life. Shirts untucked, not everyone's wearing robes, and some of them never learned to tie a tie.
Yeah, that's
Harry Potter
cool.
movies have never been lapped.
How do you pronounce the director's name? Because I've thought it was like Alfonso Cuarón, but I've heard other people say it differently, like Cuarón, or I don't know. I've never learned how to like. Maybe I should like listen to an interview with him because I have no idea.
Lacking in realistic CG creatures. I can't really say for sure about the spiders in Chamber since I only see them through my hands, but Buckbeak is impressive nonetheless.
Oh,
His
yeah.
twitchy neck movements mixed with the solid horse stance, the lighting effects,
He looks
and
really
the sound
good.
he makes seem to make sense. He's just very present. And I'm never one to complain about flying horse birds. Another invention credit to Rowling. Instagram's Boomerang app should be paying her royalties. Here's Cuarón flexing a bit while
Oh,
adding to
yeah,
his
this
last
bit.
motif as the camera makes an impossible track through the mirror to introduce the scene and then leaves through the mirror again to close it, as if the entire Bogart sequence took place on the other side of the mirror. Quality filmmaking.
That's really cool.
The first appearance of Snape in this movie is as the Bogart. Alan Rickman is always a win, and Alan Rickman doesn't even care.
I mean, don't we technically see Snape at the Great Hall when they're making an announcement? That's his first appearance, but oh well.
Oh wow for that one. But I'd say Snape dressed as Neville's grandma applies. Nope.
Yeah.
And still nope. Werewolf shadowing. This is one of the first times they're outside without rain, and it's still foggy and forbidding. The continuity of tone in this film is impressive.
That suggests that what you fear the most is fear itself. This is very wise.
I've always loved this sincere conversation between Lupin and Harry on the bridge.
Oh, that's nice.
It's framed and shot wonderfully and goes a long way in building trust for Lupin, which pays off when Harry chooses to disarm Snape later. It's also the first.
I saw somebody talk about this scene in particular, the way it's shot, where they'll have Harry. You have this shot first. Well, not this particular shot, but Harry and Lupin like standing side by side, chatting, and then as they're then they shift a bit into conversation. You'll see Lupin like walk to the back of the other side of the hallway, and that makes sense with the conversation they're having. But then it'll end with him returning to this spot. Hopefully I'm explaining it right, but it's a really cool way of like visual storytelling. I think because Alfonso is a really cool director who really knows how to make a movie. I mean, I think the only other movie I've seen of his is Gravity, which was really good.
First in a chain of scenes of seeing Lupin's physical and mental state deteriorating. I love that they treat lycanthropy as a debilitating disease rather than a monthly inconvenience. Each time we come back to the same events like riding the train or Quidditch matches, we're always delighted to something new. This time it's intense rain and, of course, the mentors.
Oh,
Owen
yeah.
always manages to keep things intriguing.
And that's Cedric Diggory.
Deadly. I meant deadly.
I think,
Every Harry
right?
Potter movie-
That is Cedric, right? It's just not played by Robert Pattinson. You might have to correct me if I'm wrong.
movie up to this point has had these amazing season transitions, but this one is my favorite so far in the series.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Guys, let me go. I'm clever, Harry, but not clever enough.
Twin clairvoyance.
It's meant to be the most haunted building in Britain. Do you want to move a bit closer? Huh? To the Shrieking
Flirting, and also establishing the
Oh, I always forget about that. You want to move closer, like not that close, not that kind of close.
Shrieking check. Saving your friends. Corone wanted to get away from sets, and that's the reason some things look a bit different in this film. But the detail and charm right down to such an extraneous location like Hogsmeade, for the purposes of this movie at least, is totally infectious.
Seeing their faces, they were talking to me. Just talking. That's the memory I chose. I don't even know if it's real.
Further solidifying our underdog hero. His happiest memory is of his parents just talking, and it might not even be real.
Oh. I know this scene wasn't in the book.
Things you notice once you know the truth about Pettigrew, like the sound of a rat pitter-pattering around or the cautious meandering movements.
Yeah.
You may be young in years, but heart beats beneath your bosom as shrewd as an old maid's.
Honesty. Who's that? Ellen Payne? I'm not generally one to win relatively unprovoked violence, but
Most I gotta watch that again. Sorry. Most satisfying punch ever.
generally one to win relatively unprovoked violence, but
Oh, just that never gets old. Seeing that, like that felt good, not good, brilliant.
it's a win.
How did she grab him without breaking her arm?
Ooh, the tension builds. We're all thinking, we knew it! You can never trust the defense against a dark arts professor.
Enough talk, Remus. Come on, let's kill him. Wait, I did my waiting.
Did I mention Gary Oldman is always a winner? This entire
hope he didn't.
misdirection scene might feel contrived, but when your target thinks that it's in disguise, you continue the pronoun game.
Sirius, be quiet. Fight yourself, Remus.
Listen to you two quarreling like an old married couple.
This exchange between these old classmates, I can't even really put my finger on why it's so convincing. Chalk it up to solid dialogue and amazing performances.
Right.
There's so much under the skin in this scene. Snape's jealousy and resentment and Remus and Sirius's super strong bond. Top-notch scene.
It's really painful.
So painful. They might chop it.
Is Ron making fun of Malfoy?
Another minute or two and I could have lost my arm.
Or is he using the same manipulation to garner Hermione's sympathy?
Okay, I was wondering if I were ever gonna mention this, but I am recording this after the news that apparently Tom Felton is coming back to play Draco Malfoy for the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child play. So I thought that I heard that I was like, really? That's really cool. It's like I've read the Cursed Child like script. I've never seen the play, but I mean this. I don't really like the story. Like it's really, I think it really contradicts the first 7 books a lot. You know, with the whole time travel thing, where it's like that's not how it works. But the fact that Tom Felton is coming back to play Draco is really cool, especially since it's been over 10 years since the last movie, so he's aged a lot more, which makes sense because in the Harry Potter universe, like he's aged a lot more since he's, you know, a father to Scorpius. So it's really cool how it all worked out.
A good friend, a good pet.
Ugh, the implications.
Ugh.
You're trying to make me extremely uncomfortable rolling. Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Apparently Peter Pettigrew was a rat on Ron's lap for 12 years, apparently. So, yeah, I remember somebody pointing out, what was his plan exactly? What did Peter hope to accomplish being a rat for the Weasleys? I don't know, but yeah.
Saving your godson and his friends.
Oh, this shot is really cool.
Talk about terrifying imagery. Ugh, this section of the score with the triumphant horns battling with themselves and the dissonant whining of the chorus. Pure genius.
However honest and true, it's meaningless to those
Dumbledore. Why would
on,
you...
Mrs. Richard Harris.
tonight. More than one innocent life may be spared.
Let's not get into time travel paradoxes, but this is evidence that Dumbledore has a plan in mind, and we get to see that he's had it for a while. And then for the last half hour,
this
it turns
scene
into a
seems really
completely different
cool.
movie they've been alluding to this entire time, and I love it. Fun little visual explanation for those not following as the camera makes another impossible maneuver through the clock and glass. 'Cause time, you know?
It's like, no, my mind thought, how did they do that? And then I realized, oh wait, no, that was probably CGI. But yeah, still cool. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that.
Time travel jokes.
Exhibit had that ling planted when he was headmaster.
Dumbledore.
Oh yes, and all the strawberries.
There are a million explanations as to how Dumbledore knew, but the easiest is that Dumbledore is always one step ahead. And I just love everything he says to distract Fudge.
Yeah. Thanks, Buckbeak.
Buckbeak to the rescue!
Expecto Patronum!
And this time, just the choral voices and the muted horns isolated, so all we hear is the victorious side of the score. You know I'm a sucker for a joyous moment.
Yeah, and the John Williams score is again amazing. Yeah, John Williams never misses.
Real things. And you can always find in here.
Did I mention Gary Oldman is always a win? He goes from totally manic crazy man to genuine loving mentor.
No, how did he do that?
Good night.
Crazy old Dumbledore.
Don't ever use time travel. Don't ever use that time turner ever again in the future series. And the movies never showed the time turners being destroyed, so yeah.
So Lupin is a werewolf or a beast, and all of his possessions listen to his every command. And Emma Watson is Belle.
Ah.
So
I get it. I get it.
I'm no longer your teacher. I feel no guilt whatsoever about giving this back to you.
generosity. The biggest turn this film took from the first two is the melancholy ending.
That's
there was always
true.
an air of fretful future in the other movie's conclusions, but in Azkaban, Harry states it plainly.
None of it made any difference.
Sirius is still on the run, Lupin has to leave, and Pettigrew is still on the loose. One last light
what was that
flip
about?
on the stretchy soul-sucking effect. The only thing that could have made it better would be Judd Nelson punching the sky and Simple Minds playing over top. There is something special about Prisoner of Azkaban as compared to the first
Oh,
two.
yeah.
The shift from what ultimately amounted to two children's adventure stories to a larger uncovering of Harry's mythos makes sense with a maturing audience. And picking Alfonso Cuarón for that shift was brilliant. Y Tu Mama Tambien proved that he could tell a more adult story involving teens. Thankfully, not too adult. But beyond that, he added a whole new level of cinematic technique and flair that wasn't present previously. I mentioned the impossible mirror shots, but as you watch the film, you'll notice the camera moving in and out and around glass, showing Harry's reflection in glass and water alike. Cuarón's long take.
No, how did they do some of that? Like, some of it CG, I'm sure, but how did they do some of those, like, in 2004? That's crazy.
Takes and constant camera movement also give this film its own unique
That
aesthetic.
too, yeah.
I guess I may have spoken too soon on Chamber of Secrets being the darkest shift. While in events, I still cautiously stick to that, but in atmosphere and tone, Azkaban takes the cake so far.
Oh, yeah.
The biggest theme and overall motif in Prisoner of Azkaban is the contrast of darkness and light. The movie opens with Harry using Lumus Maxima and actually losing control of it, illuminating the dark street below. Something that Cuarón does to amplify this is his use of these exposure, collapse, and expansion screen wipes.
Oh,
The
yeah.
first time you notice it might not be until Harry wakes up from passing out, but it actually closes this first scene as well. There's
Cool.
constant rain and dreariness that plays into the war the light has with the dark. And every time a Dementor approaches, it consumes the light and warmth, leaving darkness, death, and ice. Dumbledore actually goes so far as to say,
Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times.
The candle.
Remembers to
Just
turn
on the light.
this movie is setting up the darkness inside Harry as much as around him. But in the end, it's his own light that saves him and Sirius. This is a growing film for Harry himself. He's isolated more than normal, and this film is the first shade of how important he and he alone is to the larger story being told. Harry pointed out that none of it made any difference. But that doesn't
Sure.
mean this movie doesn't matter. We learned a ton of new information, met new important characters, and took the first real steps down Harry's bleak path. I realized there was some stuff missing from the book, like the explanation of the Marauders map and who made it.
No, that's actually, I think it's like it generally adapts the book well, but I think that's the one thing. Yeah, it doesn't really explain who the Marauders are. Like, so film goers are just like, who are they? And like, they just randomly start calling like Peter Pettigrew Wormtail and Sirius Padfoot. No, yeah, Padfoot. And it's like, wait, where did those names come from?
But you can start to put the puzzle together.
The map was lying then.
Never lies.
It would have helped if Padfoot and Mooney had called each other by their nicknames.
That-
and then
yeah.
Stag may have clicked as prongs for us. Wormtail is a bit tougher, but oh well.
Yeah.
Choosing Oldman, Thulis, and Spall to play off Rickman, as brief as it is, was about as inspired as any casting could be. So much talent in the Shrieking Shack. Everyone else showed their craft improving while still maintaining the characterizations that we all loved from the first two films.
Oh yeah, the actors, like the kids actors, were all right in the previous two, but I would say this is the one where they actually they feel like real actors. Weirdly enough, where they're really starting to become more and more like, oh, we're getting better at this. So it's really cool.
I'll probably say this again when I do Goblet of Fire, but Azkaban is sitting as my favorite right now, especially from a filmmaking standpoint.
Goblet's
And as
gonna be
dark as it is,
interesting.
it still had some pretty funny moments.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been beaten loads of times.
Prior to these intense dissections, Goblet was my favorite. What can I say? I love me some dragons and Robert Pattinson.
I mean, fair.
Anyway, I promised the return of the teaser frame, so here it is. Hint to maybe a few thousand of you is that I've actually already done this movie, but it disappeared very quickly. So, now I'm redoing it. Older, wiser, and more optimistic than ever.
Ah, okay. Total win score 112. Award candy from strangers.
Here, eat this.
Yeah.
It'll help. It's all right. It's chocolate.
I guess, yeah, kind of was.
You'll feel better.
Here, eat this. It helps. It really helps.
I'm reminded now of this meme I saw where somebody was like, chocolate is good for you. I was right my whole life. It's like, this is like the one time chocolate actually is good for you. So I wish that were true. And that was my reaction to Lee's Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban video. Yep, really nice. I feel like he could have went in depth. I don't know, something about it. I feel like he could have went a little deeper into this one. I feel like there's stuff there's missing. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's a relatively short video too. But I feel like he could have gone a little deeper. But oh well, it is what it is. It's still a good video, and yep, still one of my favorite movies in this series. Yep, and next we will, of course, go to Goblet of Fire, which is one of my least favorites, but we'll talk more about that when we get to it. So that'll be all for now. Peace.